Time to talk about the const reserved keyword and read-only reserved keyword. So read-only allows to declare a member variable as a constant, but allows the value to be assigned at runtime. Now, const also allows us to declare a member variable as a constant, but we cannot do it at a runtime. And there's actually a couple of other differences which I want to talk about. But first, let's see them in an example. First, I will go ahead and create a constant using the const reserved keyword. So I will say public const string some text, and then I will give it a value. So this is a constant string, and we can use it to print it like so. There you go. This will work just fine. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with read-only reserved keyword. I will say public read-only string some other string, or some other text rather. This is some other text, and then I will try to print it. Let's see if it works. And we see an object reference is required for the non-static field method or property. Why? Well, do you remember statics versus non-statics? The class has access to its static members, and const is implicitly static. So if we actually say program dot, you can see on it we have access to some text. However, we don't have access to some other text because some other text is just read-only, but it is not static because read-only is not implicitly static. We have to explicitly make it static. And we can see that by this example. So if I actually instantiate a program class and I say new program, and then I go ahead and I use the instance of program, see on it we have access to some other text. But if we want to use it in our static main class, then we have to make this a static member. So I'll go ahead and do that. I will say public static read-only string, and then now everything works just fine. So that's one difference that I wanted to outline by doing this example, that const is implicitly static, yet read-only needs to be made static. Also, another difference, we can't not initialize our constant field. So if I take this out, you will see that some text has been underlined. Put it back, it'll work just fine. However, if I do not initialize my read-only field, everything will be just fine because it can be initialized on runtime. Let me bring it back. Now, we would actually like to mention one more thing about constants. There's another difference as to what they can hold. Constants can hold C# built-in types. If we create any custom types, for example, our famous person custom type, we cannot assign that, and we cannot have that as a constant field. We can have it as a read-only field, but not as a constant field. Let's give it a shot. We'll say person, and then I will say new person, and I will say A and B for first name and last name. See, does not work. But if I do the same thing with a read-only field, it'll work just fine. So if I say person, and then I come here, I say new person, A and B, it'll work just fine. So that's another fundamental difference between const and read-only fields. We'll be using this when we're writing our word unscrambler.